we will go ahead and start just with some introductions, and hopefully people will join us for that. So everyone, we are in it's launch day. Let's have a successful go live day. And if you were to take out your map that we did, we are right here at the go live. Okay, we're in the execution phase, and that's where we're gonna start. My name is Kathy Brizes. I'm from Del Mar Union School District, and I'm the Office Manager of Technology. And we have two other speakers who have played this game, probably with a project management tool or not, but we're all in IT and we've gone through several projects. We have Elena Malone from Escondido Union Elementary, shout out. Ali Maroof from the County Office of Education, Security. So we have three organizations. We all had three major projects that we're going to discuss. And we had three different go lives that are in every flavor imaginable. We can see going through the sessions yesterday that each go live goes different. Each project charter is different. So we'll give you some tips and tricks, and hopefully you can take those away with you. As I said, every go live is different. It can vary based on your IT team, the scope, and your project manager. However, these are there's similar solutions to everything here, and we're hoping to get some feedback from you on go lives. Again, this is where we're at here. I'll do the little laser, the go live here. We're almost done before we hand it off to our end users. Go live day is the day that we become operational. We hand off a product or a service. Our go live day is the time at which something becomes available for use for those stakeholders. We were shared with this yesterday in the County Office EPMO toolkit. It's the go live checklist. In here, we're just going to cover a couple sections here: testing and sign off, your support team, and training communications. So a go, no go meeting is a question that you ask your team or of each other. Are we ready? Is it a go? And if you've done all of the road work map here, did your project charter, your file repository, this decision over here should be fairly easy. And if you have a project manager that's ready to communicate that yes or no, you should be good. I'm going to hand this off to Elena Malone, and she's going to explain and discuss their go live date. Elena?
Thank you, Kathy. My name is Elena Malone. I'm from Escondido Union School District, and we recently changed platforms for our web content management system. And before I tell you how it actually went for us, I wanted to stress the importance of everything leading up to the go live, which is project planning. So how do you avoid all of these bloopers that might come up during your project? Our project land is modeled after Candyland, and Candyland is full of those cherry pitfalls. If you get into them, it's very hard to get out. It's just a matter of luck if you're going to toss good dice or not. But in real life, it's not about luck. It's about planning. So before go live, there's a go ahead, the idea, the design, the go plan, project charter, the planning phase. You have to communicate. You have to figure out how to deal with risks and how to manage them. So arriving at the glorious go live is pretty much impossible if you flunk the communication 101, set unrealistic goals for yourself, don't allocate sufficient resources, and fail to plan. So how do we not get stuck in a swamp of molasses, which Project Land or Candyland is also full of? Do stick around to find out. So always start with the end in mind, which is your project charter. Even though it's a set point in time where you have your key players, the project scope, what you're using, your resources, when is it due, what are the different stages of your project, have that ready so that you have the map, the roadmap right in front of you and right in front of all of your team players. Speaking of team players, involve as many key players as possible. That's your project managers, your stakeholders, your sponsors, everybody. And everybody has a different vantage point. They can come up with different ideas. They can see different risks for your project. So do involve as many people as possible. And plan. Don't just plan your main plan, but also have a plan B and maybe a plan C to manage all the risks that can happen along the project, because that never happens in the IT project land. And there is this concept in programming called module testing. That means that you need to test, you need to evaluate every little thing inside of the bigger picture to make sure it works. So as you're approaching your project and you're looking at it, step in closer, look at this piece, look at that piece, test it, make sure it works before you test the whole picture and suddenly find out that something doesn't work and have to go back. So do that before, not after. And last but not least, communicate. Communicate your findings, communicate your failures, communicate everything. Make sure that your team is well informed about what's happening in the project. So with all that said, that's a lot to keep track of. And just like the project charter, just like the planning phase, the way to keep track of all of these to-dos is to have a checklist. And just like good old recipe books or roadmaps or game rules, these checklists help you to stay on track, stay focused, and keep the goal in mind. So for the go live, we have the checklist for testing, for support, for training, for communication, and those 4 different sections, could be 5, also consists of multiple checklists. So make sure you're tracking everything that you're supposed to test, all of the support documentation and everything that goes along with support. Make sure your support people know what to do. Make sure that the vendor support people know how to help you. Training. Did you go through all of the training pieces? Have you trained every single group imaginable? Did they receive sufficient training? Did they have questions? Did you build FAQs for them based on their questions from the training? That could be ongoing. Did you communicate enough? And so with the checklists, they can be as simple as spreadsheets, maybe even a whiteboard in your office, or they can be as complicated as our vendors for the web content management system. They have Basecamp. So that's an online project management tool. There are others like Monday.com, which SDCOE is using, and many more others. If you go Google, you'll probably find hundreds of them. So with so many different solutions, how do you work together when you have different versions of the same checklist? Can you really play together using different checklists? Well, let's see about that. There was this session this morning with our good friends. They presented soft skills. And in the soft skills, they presented different approaches to conflict management. So when you have 2 colliding checklists or 2 colliding ways of approaching a project, you have a conflict. And how you resolve it is going to depend on you. But always keep in mind that you're doing it for the success of your project. You're not doing it to prove something. So what are these options? You can insist on your solution. You can say, our solution is better, see? Let's go with ours. I think they called it a shark in the morning session for the conflict management. You can yield. You can see that their solution is better, or just maybe not be willing to argue, and you can take on their solution. You can merge your solutions and take the best of both worlds, or you can supplement just like we did with our vendor. We followed their process. but we still stuck to our way of communicating key points to each other through email, through Google Calendar, through spreadsheets, because Basecamp is great. They have this pinging functionality that sends you an email every time you're on task, or if you have an approaching to-do that you need to do. It also sends you an email, but their chat kind of turns into this flurry of messages that are very hard to follow. And that's why we prefer to keep our own communication inside of our own organization, inside of the chats and emails. Of course, there are better ways of doing that, but that's what we did. We supplemented their solution with ours, and it's working. So decide what's best for the cumulative productivity. If your vendor is the critical player who's doing most of the heavy lifting, let them have it their way. That's what we did. And how did it go for us, besides the Basecamp and communication and to-dos? Well, it was a rocky road ice cream. And by ice cream, I mean ice cream, just like it says over there in the presentation. It started with us finding out that, well, what we heard from the sales that the product can do is not really what the product can do. And that was amidst of it being an urgent thing. So it was the project itself was due in 2 months. We had a very small team to work with to begin with. It had to be out and done before the schools were out, and there was no going back. I mean, imagine the embarrassment of going back to your previous service providers and asking them to extend it for another month, maybe. Maybe they have that option, maybe they don't. I mean, risk management, think about it. So we had to also navigate a lot of system quirks while learning what the system is, building guides off of it, and assisting others, including their support team, and understanding what we need out of it. And there were also some surprise revamps of our own internal processes based on what their new system can do. Because, by the way, we didn't just implement the content management system for our website. It also combined the communication, the outreach. It pretty much combined a lot of applications together. Did we win in the end? Yeah, we did. I mean, the website looks great. Our end users love it. It was a nightmare to implement, but the end result is great. And our support teams know what to do. Our vendor support team knows how to help us and how to help our users if they ever come to them. We had multiple resources consolidated into a single platform. Like I said, we had flyers, we had communication tools, the mass outreach, everything went into the same platform. It's a lot easier for everybody. We have standardized access and content posting methods and the layout across all of the different school sites and the district. So it was all for the best. And now we know more and fear a lot less. And in retrospect, well, now that I think about it, I don't think we got a demo account for this one. Whenever you can, get a demo account and make sure to kick all of the tires of that solution, whatever you're testing. Kick the tires as soon as possible. Find out as much as possible. If you don't have a demo account, find their support articles. Learn the product. Make sure that you're asking the right questions off the get-go and getting the right answers. And definitely involve more team players. Involve everybody you can think of. And then you can parse them out into different teams. You can do communication that's pertaining to just that team, but involve as many team players as possible. Give yourself time by getting answers early on. Like I said, get a demo account or check their support articles. Make sure you know what you're looking at. And if you know what you're working with, you will also know how to adjust your timeline for the project based on what you have there. Because you may find out that they have this bug or feature, whatever they call it, that will require you to redesign some of your internal processes. Well, you'll have to know about it in advance in order to plan for it. And when you're communicating with a vendor, just like we did, which just like we did not, always follow up the, can your product do this? With, show me how it can do this. Because we just believed them that the product can do it and we let it go. And in the end, we found out that, oh my gosh, we need to do a workaround real quick. So for those workarounds, you have to be ready to do overtime or maybe set the go live date further. Make sure you have enough padding in your timeline. And no scream. Panic did not help anybody in any project ever. So instead of this fight or flight situation, go instead for the step back and evaluate. What can you tackle now? What's critical? What can be moved into the out of scope area and maybe handled in a different project? Your team will thank you for staying calm. And that's all from me. On to the Apple refresh from Kathy.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Great. Thanks, Elena. Our team sort of screamed. I think John can probably recognize that with our Apple refresh and how it went in Del Mar. We recently had an Apple laptop, iPad, and desktop refresh, and that was cut into 3. It looks like I cut my visual, but if you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up? Perfect. So let's go ahead and dive in to see how our Apple refresh went. Remember when we had that little checkoff sheet of go live, the testing and sign off was one phase of it. And talking about games we play on the fun adventures and project land. You know, what if you have missing pieces? Do you want to play? Do you want to substitute those pieces? Do the players involved actually want to play now, or do you want to move on to something different? We didn't really have much of a choice in that pre-planning for iPads and Apple laptops because we were at the end of a year lease on there. So our missing pieces, did we move forward? A couple of things that we had to decide, our project manager had to decide. Our testing window was cut short. Our testing window was cut short because when we got it to the board and by the time we got it back and added business services and a PO cut, that cut and moved some time. We actually had missing components of configurations that the third-party white glove vendor was pointing to us. So one of our key players here was removing configurations to assist with our third-party vendor's network system. You would think that they took this project on, that they would have the network capability of doing our project. That was not the case. So we spent a lot of lost time in going back and forth with that. Project leader said, let's just roll the dice. Let's go for it. Our teachers were so excited. They were getting the spinning wheels of death. They wanted everything. They had backed up their computers. We gave them how to automatically save through Google Drive. They were all ready. So our thought process is we can still win. It may not be today. It may not be the best gameplay, but we're going to go forward with it. Our support team. We talk about our support team, good sportsmanship. Elena mentioned it, and we've heard it several times through this workshop, and that is the soft skills. Good sportsmanships. When you're playing a game, do you want to play with them? Are they a sore loser? Do they cheat? Do they take shortcuts? Do they change the rules on it? Part of that project charter is having this all written before and making those decisions on your go live. As I mentioned earlier, we had date changes with the vendor. We had to expedite shipping. We were already 2 weeks probably out from our expected rollout date. By this time, we're all panicking. Are we going to get it by the time the teachers leave? Because it was June 3rd, an early dismissal this year for all of us. We had flexibility of our end users' expectations. They were ready to get this around report card time in May, and we got it, I think, towards the end of May, probably the week before school ended. So our team decided to come up with 3 options. We had that flexibility. Do they want it one-on-one? Do they want it in a team, what would you call it? A team meeting or their staff meeting, or are they going to make appointments? We offered all 3. to them to make it flexible for them. We had all hands-on support from our tech team. Training for the non-technical, meaning myself. I'm not technical. I'm the office manager. I handle budgets and coordinating. So I said, hey guys, if you want me to help, you need to provide me with a help guide that I can do it and read it and be successful. And they gave that to me. I went out with our team. We rolled this out site by site. We were also prepared for some retrieval of missing files and data. Our teachers back up their photos, personal photos sometimes on here. They don't want to part with it. It's also towards the end of the school year. So did we cross over their emails, those email groups that they had to take one by one because they didn't, we had a system change in the beginning of the year. Are they prepared? Are those bookmarks going to come over? Those types of things. So we did communicate that. Some people didn't listen, but we had our help desk team, which are the same. We are a small team, 3 or 4 people. We're prepared to answer their questions. Training and communication is another portion on that checkoff sheet that the EPMO toolkit has. And that's playing about our house rules. Our house rules is what did we set forth in that project charter or project planning. We had one of our key players out. He's the one who configured and was responsible for all of our laptop configurations. His wife made the vacation date just a little bit off and it fell in the beginning of our rollout. Our team was adaptable. We communicated we communicated the delays to the staff. That's why we went with those 3 options that we laid out in the beginning. We did help guides on the fly, meaning that the local contacts didn't move that email. Our key player was out. He was part of that. And we weren't prepared for that because we also didn't have the time in the front for that training. That training was cut off. Remember that the training was cut off for testing because of our third-party vendor network issues. We have a help desk support system, which are those 3 or 4 key players we have that are on the help desk and also doing the rollout. Our takeaways, 2020 lessons learned. So very important from what I've learned through this workshop and listening to the sessions and everyone's comments early on is involving your whole project team on the takeaways and also your end users. Those surveys come in real handy. Maybe there's something we didn't even think was an issue or think was a positive, and someone in a survey may bring that to our attention. So take a look at those. Take a look at your project charter timeline. As Elena said, pad some time in there. We would think that a vendor who does this for their business that was recommended by a major vendor of ours, partner with us, would be able to handle our rollout and not done the network by 3 to 4 days and have us go through hoops. Look at your calendars for deployment. Look to see, are the report cards coming out? Is at the end of the school year? Things like that. Your interactions with your business services and your board. We took our lease to business services probably like a day before it was due to the board time cutoff. So pay close attention to that, have really good interactions with them and communication with that. We tried to schedule more time for end user testing and feedback, but again, that was sort of out of our control with the third-party vendor network issues. But again, you can pad it a little bit. And then more planners input from all angles. I went through this workshop yesterday, which is your team members' perspective on project management. Get their input. They're the ones who are doing the work. As a project manager, you don't need to know what the content is really. Treat it as an interview. Ask them questions. Hey, what happens if we don't do this? What happens if we do? What's a crucial piece of that? So the more people you can have planning in your project charter, that planning, the better your project will be. We're going to hand it off to Ali. Ali?
Thank you, Kathy. Hello, my name is Ali Marufi, and I'm going to talk about user support. I will draw from previous phase of an ongoing project multi-factor authentication, or MFA. We are on wave 2 of this project, and each wave has multiple phases. I'll be covering preparation, service level agreement or SLAs, escalation, and pre-go live. For preparation, I'll talk about how we put our players in place and created a game plan for them. On SLA, we wanted to respond to our users as quickly as possible, maximum 2 hours. That was our goal. Escalation was all about our different tiers of support, how and when Tier 1 should escalate it to Tier 2. And for Go Live, how we brought the team together and got them ready for the Go Live day. Effective user support is critical for any project, especially projects that are aiming to change user behavior. For our multi-factor authentication project, we asked about 1,600 employees to insert a YubiKey, security key, in their computer or use a push notification on their phone to authenticate. A huge change in behavior, and a successful go live was critical for us. To be sure that we had enough staff to support our end users, we asked other units within our IT departments to share some of their staff with us for the go live day. Of course, these staffs needed to be trained, and they also needed some guidelines as what to do and when to do it. To address that, we put together a document that described what needed to be done and by whom. We did our best to anticipate issues that our users could possibly face and train our staff on those issues. We took advantage of our prior interactions with our users, issues that our tester brought forward, and the FAQ, of course. We had 2 tiers of support, and responsibility of each tier was defined in our guidelines document. It also described which team is responsible to answer MFA hotline and at what time of the day. We established a new phone line for MFA related issues and advertised it way ahead of time. Also added the phone number on the security key, the YubiKey, that were sent to our users. We created a greeting script that everyone used when answering calls. We did this to standardize our initial response. Altogether, we had 21 staff for our third phase, supporting close to 700 users on a go live day. We had to make sure our support staff were fully trained, identifying what they were responsible for and how best they could do their job. So before the go live day, we worked with one manager in each unit and made sure they understood the importance of MFA. We worked with them to solve any issues they may have and explained everything that we could regarding MFA. Then we asked that manager to be our champion or to identify a person in their unit to work with the staff who needed help in their unit. There were multiple tiers of support, as I mentioned, on the go live day. If tier 1 could not resolve an issue, they would assign the ticket to someone in help desk, which was our tier 2, and let them know via team chat that a ticket was assigned to them. If help desk could not resolve it, then it would go to the cybersecurity team. Our help desk staff were authorized to put end users on temporary bypass. We did this so our end users don't have to wait for long if they were having issues that could not be resolved quickly. Remember, our SLA was 2 hours. We later took care of those users at the post go live phase. During the go live, our project team monitored help desk tickets so that the help desk could focus on phone calls and in-person support. The Duo admin portal was also monitored, and project team proactively reached out to users with multiple failed authentication attempt. Before they could reach us, we reached them. The project team resolved any issues that they could and assigned other tickets to the responsible party, which was other tiers. They also provided routine updates to governance team with the number of open tickets and most common issues that our users had. All tickets within ServiceNow, our ticketing platform, were tagged so that we can categorize them later and better understand how to improve our user support. Remember, this is multiple wave. Each wave has multiple phases, so we can use this for our future phases. Our goal was to resolve our MFA authentication issues within 2 hours, and I'm happy to report that we were successful in doing that. So in previous slide, I talked about having multiple tiers. For this to work, we needed the guidelines and when a ticket should be escalated from tier 1 to the next tier and how. We put together a document that described the responsibility of each team, the time that team was responsible to answer MFA hotline, and how they should escalate it if they could not help the users themselves. Our help desk team was responsible to answer the phone lines from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And our cloud services helped us by taking the calls after hours from 4 to midnight. This slide here, you can see a small portion of the document I talked about. It was many pages and we could just get a snapshot of each and put it here. And each group had a section to follow and all items were identified clearly so they can easily follow it. We had a rally meeting pre-go live with our support staff, emphasizing the importance of resolving issues quickly and keeping our customers happy. That was our goal. We planned 2 positions dedicated to assigning tickets and responsible and responding to any users experiencing excessive wait time, 2 hours. We wanted to make sure everyone was ready and provide energetic support to our employees. So to do that, we had to energize our support staff, and we were successful in doing that. And on Go Live, our support staff were on task. Our users were satisfied with the support they received. And according to the survey we received from our support staff, they had fun supporting our users, which was great. At this point, I'd like you to think about a less than successful Go Live activity that you may had. Considering what you have heard in this session, type one thing in the chat that could have been helpful. Things like better communication, better preparing your support staff, spending more time on scheduling, or more testing. All right, I'm going to open up my chat so I can see what you guys put in.
Actually, I have a little bit of different question.
Of course.
Yeah, I was very interested when you say that cloud services after hour. Is that staff with internal staff or outside services?
We have a department called Cloud Services, and they are internal, and they are almost 24. Well, not quite 24 hours. They're there till midnight.
Wow.
So we took advantage of that, and they were, they helped us, which was great. And they assigned 3 staffs to us actually. And After midnight, then was ServiceNow our ticketing system that would take it. So in the morning, first thing we did when we came um, to work, we would check that, and that was before 8 o'clock. And if there was an issue, if someone was stuck, we would put them on bypass so they could go on with their work. And then we will figure out what is wrong, why they were having issues, and resolve it.
I see. So that after-hour service is, are they part of IT infrastructure or they're a different department?
Everything was part of IT.
I see.
Yes.
So their work, their hour or after hour, they didn't put in a special having to alter their schedule for this project?
No, they did not. It was their schedule, and they would help people if anybody had issue. If they could not, up to around 10:30, something like that, they would contact us via Teams. We all have our teams on the phone, and we would respond if we could. But other than that, they would just, put them on bypass, and we will take care of it in the morning.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. All of these, by the way, were described in that document that I was talking about. We took a lot of time. And another thing that I want to mention, we did get everyone involved from the beginning, and we couldn't do these documents without their inputs. Help desk, Tyler is here from the help desk. He's our help desk supervisor. We got help desk, we got cloud services, we got everyone else that had any role in this project all involved from the beginning, including our testers from different departments. So we did take their input and used all of those for these documents.
There's a lot of comments in the chat about communication with the team and stakeholders. And I think that one of the earlier sessions discussed status reports. So they can be weekly, they can be bi-weekly. They are really helpful to keep the team interested and excited for this project, and also know what's happening, what happened, what kind of issues arose, how they were resolved or how they could be resolved. That really helps everybody.
Absolutely. Communication is a key.
Can't stress it enough.
Communication, communication, communication. You had it in your slide. I love it.
Right? Communication with stakeholders, your project plan involving your stakeholders, your team members, getting that all set up. I'm going to ask that if you, after this session, if you want to go to our SCED and complete the feedback form, if you have any other questions for us, you know how to get a hold of us. The County Office of Ed EPMO program have all these slides within the SCED for you to download and use. And the County Office of Ed also has a wonderful resource team, as you've seen here today, very helpful with giving you templates to make your own. I know here in Del Mar, we used the templates and made them our own, and that has been really, really helpful with that. I'm going to see if I can take us back to the next page here. See if I can do this real fast. See, I'm not tech. I'm just going to go through real fast here. And it's right here. We have about 4 more minutes of it here. I want to remind everyone that after this at 2 o'clock, we have that game hour. I know that people were saying they haven't won that Grubhub or a chance to win. This is your time to go in there and have some fun and share your thoughts with the group. Are there any more questions, comments? How many of you actually in the chat or by raise of hands do you actually have a go live meeting? Or is it just one person saying we're just doing this, and then you don't hear about it and it's been rolled out? Sometimes I'm on a project, I don't even know I'm on a project, so everyone's do their day-to-day functions of it.
We kind
Right,
of have
yes.
a check where everybody has their own, everybody's responsible for their own section and brings that to the project manager or the boss or whoever it may be and say, okay, we're ready.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do the mass communication.
So some things I took down in the go live session here to hopefully just recap of it is if you've gone over your outstanding issues, have you developed a backup plan in case there is a no-go? Have your users received the training and the documentation that is needed for a successful go live? Do you have the support staff? As Ollie mentioned, his team had pre-team meetings, pre-go live dates, got them really pumped up for their support and were very enthusiastic by it. So do you have your support staff that's been trained and are ready to go? How do you track the issues from your support team? Like, are you giving them a voice? So if there's any concerns that they have, are we giving them a voice at that table? When we do decide to go live or along the process, have we listened to those concerns and addressed those and considered those? And if you're ever part of a team, speaking of a team member person, not a project manager, speak up your concerns. You're the one who's supporting it. You've been out there with the end user, so have a voice and be a partner. I liked how they spoke yesterday with Rick when he said, let's take technology from a utility to a partner. And what a beautiful way to really get our team engaged on that instead of being reactive. And that was one thing I took away yesterday, is to be a partner and not be sometimes that punching bag or that thankless department over there that's really messy and has a tiny little spot in a big building on there, because we all work very hard for that. So any other comments? We have like 3 more minutes. If not, we'll go ahead and kick it out. Please make sure that you join the game hour. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we thank you for your time today. Thank you, Ollie and Elena, Jamil, the background team from the County Office of Ed. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.